Where the hell is he? Ronak thinks to himself as his finger swipes across the phone screen. The map on his phone slides all around, but his location is still a mystery. This cold and quiet Goan town is invisible online. What a strange place. It's quite unlike Goa. Only 9 o'clock and already all music has died down. Not a soul to be seen. The phantom beats of the loud EDM from passing raves are still thumping in his ears. Ronak's eyes furrow as he sees the network bar slowly drop to zero. Ever resourceful and over-prepared though, Ronak pulls out an old printed map from his bag and slides his finger down the zigzagging roads until it lands on a name. Written in tiny print in an obscure corner of the sheet, he reads, Tahan. That's curious. Goa's almost a second home to him, and he's never heard of this place before. He looks around suspiciously. The ghost town seems to be staring right back at him. A wave of vulnerability passes down his spine in a shiver. The drowsiness he felt in the bus has now completely evaporated in the uncharacteristic chill of this seemingly ancient town. As he walked down the road, he took in the view and build of these old Konkan houses. While some had old lanterns flickering in the windows, most houses were pitch dark. Ronak could have approached one of the houses and asked for help, but something in him screamed that maybe he should rather not. With a mix of caution and curiosity, he continued down the abandoned roads of the town. No wonder, he thinks to himself, that no one comes to this town. These roads don't look like they've had any work done on them forever. From the fog of anxiety and dread, a thought sneaks up in his mind. Maybe he got lucky. This might be the perfect place to hide out from the authorities. Slowly, all thoughts drain from his mind, and, replaced with a morbid curiosity, Ronak strolls down this unusually sleepy town. Just as the December chills start pricking Ronak's neck, he encounters a church. An old Portuguese-style affair with a tall bell tower looking down at him. The top of the tower appears to be swaying in the wind. Ronak entered the church compound and stood below the tower, staring straight up at it. The high structures seemed to bend down in a malicious attempt to crash onto Ronak. It's the oldest church he's seen in Goa. It may be the oldest church he's ever seen. It looked like the old church was waiting for him. His right hand instinctively reaches for the cross dangling around his neck. The cold steel statue of Jesus usually gives him comfort. That too eludes him tonight. Must be the sin he committed today, he rationalizes. Taking a quick deep breath, he clutches the metal cross to warm it with his hands and enters the church. Residue from the morning mass is visible all around. The Bibles are dog-eared and strewn around the place. Apart from a solitary cockroach scurrying past, the church looks clean and adequately maintained. In the darkness, he bangs his shin against a church pew and almost blurts an obscenity in this house of God. Finding his way around, he sees a doorway behind the altar. A warm yellow glow of candlelight emanates from it. He walks towards the light and finds himself in an old room, much older than the building that contains it. The tables and other paraphernalia inform Ronak that it is most possibly the priest's cabin. In the far corner of the room is a confession booth. Ronak is taking in the unnatural silence of the room when the sounds of sharp footsteps startle him into attention. He frantically looks around and rushes to the confession booth to hide. The sound of footsteps grow louder and louder as the priest finally enters the room. Inside the darkness of the confession booth, Ronak quietly shuffles through his bag looking for something. He pulls out a knife covered in gauze, stained red with blood. I cannot afford to be found, he thinks to himself. Please leave the room, old man, he thinks again. The blood on the knife stains Ronak's hand, evidence of the freshness of his crime. Please, God, don't let me kill another person today, he prays in this house of worship. No need to hide, son. You must be hungry, the priest says. Ronak's soul nearly jumps out of his body. He almost drops the knife. God knows I am, the priest continues, chuckling politely. Don't fucking come near me, Ronak says, faking assertiveness. The priest goes to a basket of fruits and picks an apple, and with a knife slices it open. He slowly walks towards the confession booth. Ronak's grip on the bloody knife tightens. Weapons don't help you in the house of God, you know, says the priest as he puts the apple in a plate and places it in front of the confession booth door. You must have a lot to talk about. That's why people usually end up here. Ronak is frightened out of his wits. Only the heaviest hearts end up here, my son, the priest continues. Ronak hears the priest's side of the confession booth open and close. The next sound comes from right next to Ronak, from the blackness of the priest's compartment. It almost knocks Ronak off his feet. You can tell me your griefs. God forgives the greatest sinners. Ronak hesitates. Then, tightening his grip on the knife, he says, I have nothing to declare. I didn't mean to come in. Of course you didn't mean to come in, son. But people landing here is never a mistake, the priest says. His tone sounds more malicious. Excuse me? Says Ronak, confused and perplexed. Killing isn't very nice, is it? The priest's voice says. What are you talking about? Ronak replies, alarmed. That's why you've come here, haven't you? To look for a hideout? I don't know what you're talking about. There's mercy for everyone if you ask for it, child. I haven't done anything, lies Ronak, putting the bloody knife back in his backpack. So, nothing to confess? The voice of the priest is still strangely inviting. No, nothing. I'm going to go now. Ronak twists the handle to get out of the booth. It just turns without effect. He tries to push the door open, but it's locked. The voice of the priest is heard from the darkness. Father, this meal is a work of your hands. You have provided for me again, and I am grateful. I confess to the sin I'm about to commit. I recognize that my hunger is a punishment for the past wrongdoings, and I'm eternally grateful to you for the rare meals that I receive. Ronak is freaking out. He tries to kick and shove the door open, but to no result. The voice next to him is turning more and more grotesque, as if the source of the sound is a mouth undergoing painful disfigurement. Ronak, through frightened tears, screams while trying to kick the door open. The merciless door doesn't budge an inch. Meanwhile, the sound next to him growing more and more dreadful. Please let me go, whimpers Ronak. As I have this meal, I shall remember the sins that I have committed and the lives that I have taken. I recognize this town as the prison that you made me. With this meal, I shall be cleansing the world of one more wrongdoer. What the fuck is going on? Ronak cries. The wall between the two compartments suddenly explodes, and in a blur of furious movement, a grotesque humanoid monster crossed with the foulest physical aspects of a bat swings its abhorrent head towards Ronak and bites a majority of his torso, right off his body.